Yeah, so basically the question is a municipality has the ability to basically take out certain fees. Some of them are called franchise fees, but basically you see them as those, 50-cent fees on your landline bill, insurance policies, annuities, your mobile phone, your gas, your electric. There's annoying ones where they tell you it's $19.99 and it ends up being like 26 bucks and you're like, how the heck did that happen? Okay, so that's effectively. So basically what we've learned is no, if there are no local roads, then that money does not transfer over because there are no local roads for it to transfer over to. So it would not occur. So that bolus of cash does not make that transfer. And frankly, let's just say for a moment it was. If that city gets incorporated, and if the mayor and the city council didn't commit to either not take it or return it back, well, I'd kick that person out of office. I'd be like, are you kidding me? I'm a Forsyth County resident. I'm not gonna have them go into the hole $2 million because what, you have something in your mind that you wanna spend money on? I don't think so. So first of all, we learned they're not gonna take it. But if, hypothetically, if suddenly it was, then it would be up to us to hold our elected officials, the mayor and the city councilman, or men and women, to be able to push that money back, or not even take it. But no, they don't have a right to take it, because for us, it's state law. You can't just take it. To take it, you gotta be able to match it up against an expense.
What about SPLOST? I mean, because SPLOST revenues by the county was going to be a difference of what, $63 million or something over that 5-year based off of that county study.
Well, yes.
Now again, I understand SPLOST is what it is, but again, $2 million a year is a lot different than $12 million a year.
Absolutely. So the question.
Springs is not a $6 million budget; it's a $40 million close to.
Yeah, so the question is about SPLOST. Raise your hand if you know what that fancy acronym means. Okay, that's pretty good. Okay, so you know that those are capital projects. So SPLOST is negotiated. Okay, so for instance, very similar to what the school board does in terms of their bond, those are capital projects, those aren't operating expenses. You guys are going out, I believe, for a bond, right, a SPLOST, right? And there's gonna be capital projects involved. I don't know about you, but if the mayoral candidates said, I'm gonna build, fill in the blank, I'm not gonna vote for them. That's up to you. I mean, I don't know about you, but for a limited services city, that's up to that elected official instead of city councilman, but I'd like to think that we would hold them accountable. I know my district's fiscally conservative, overly fiscally conservative. So in our mind, I think the most important thing would be to hold them accountable. And them going to SPLOST and sitting at the negotiation table for fill in the blank, I'm not quite sure what they need fill in the blank for. There's an empty strip plaza right down on 141, just north of here, that has 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 square feet. I think right there would be plenty, and they don't need to hit SPLOST for that, because that's not capital, that's just operating expenses. And again, that's up to, if it does get incorporated, it's up to your elected officials. Yeah.
So is there any other purpose for us to become the city of Sharon Springs other than zoning and aesthetics?
Well, that's funny. After 6 months of being on the committee, if you read my letter, I think it is so complex. When I speak to some people, he's enjoying himself. Don't worry about it. I got 4 kids. At first I thought, you know what, we allowed the SSA folks to come in. I think in the second meeting, we had a group of citizens against the city come in the third meeting, and it was like, wow, it looks pretty black and white, cut and dry. Well, just like life, it's all in the gray. And again, look at the report, so I'm gonna try and do the best I can. If you start talking about, I'll call it aesthetics, zoning, brand, we heard that a lot. Are we Cumming? Are we Swanee? Are we Alpharetta? Are we Johns Creek? Are we Duluth? I never knew Duluth slept in, but I guess up there towards 20 it does. So, okay, fine. I heard government closer to the people. Right now, we're at about 230,000, I believe. 230,000 with 5 commissioners, so you can do the math, almost 50,000 apiece. Each one of the projections show us going to about 425 within 20 years. If we stay at 5, that's 90,000 apiece. So how close do you want government to be to you? And again, that's not for me to decide, that's for you to decide. But at the end of the day, I would say it's government intimacy, branding, aesthetics, And then basically, I'll say how they're gonna control, I'll say the movement of property, not just unzoned in A1, which is agricultural zone, but also what we heard was the 10 and 20-year projections in terms of how many current properties would get, call it, through the mill again. By the way, I can do with equal aplomb why people don't want it, so don't worry, if someone asks that question, I'll give it with zeal.
I wanted to know also, what are the risks, because I mean, if they're over worried about our taxes going up, and that's, I don't know. I don't know if that's a possibility or.
Yeah. Let me first give you this. I moved to South Forsyth. I love Forsyth. I moved here 11 years ago. Here's the 3 reasons I moved here. Ready? 1, I was 1 mile away from South Forsyth and I wanted my kids to go to the IB program. 2, the Peachtree Parkway overlay had just been passed and I was like, that's what I want to live near. That's going to kick butt, going to be a lot better than Jimmy Carter Boulevard. And 3, I was looking at Milton and the taxes were, in my mind, materially lower. 11 years later, I got redistricted, not to the closest school anymore, not to the second closest school, but to the third closest school, so that's out. Peachtree Parkway overlay, with respect, hasn't been adhered to, and I'll leave it at that. The third piece, in terms of the taxes, you can do your own analysis. I'm not gonna sit here and feed you something, but my analysis tells me it's no longer the spread that it used to be with Milton and Alpharetta. Is there still a spread? Yes, but it's not as big. My point being is, I'm not complaining, I love it here, I'm not leaving, I'm retiring here, the whole bit. But at the end of the day, all I can tell you is today what the cost would be. I can't tell you what it's gonna be in 10 years. I don't think anybody can. And I think frankly it's folly for people to do that. So in my mind, when you think about what the cost could be, here you go. You ready? There is, inside of the city charter, an ability for them to charge 0.5 mils. If you know what a mill is, 1 mil is $1 for every 1,000 of what your taxable value is. So keep in mind, you have a $500,000 house, take 40% of that, that's 200,000. So a half a mil is, come on, 100 bucks. Okay, so 100 bucks, okay? So they can go up to that. In addition, there's franchise fees. Like I said, there's 3 franchise fees: gas, electric, and landline, which I don't even know what that is anymore. But they can in fact put a couple percentage, a couple hundred basis points on that. Other than that, they do not have the access to revenue. Okay? Hold on, let me just finish one more thing, Peggy, and you can ask, I
Todd,
promise.
for 1 second, on the franchise fee thing, can you explain too about eligibility for those as a municipality as opposed to a county?
Oh, I'm
So
sorry.
they're not taking those fees don't actually exist in the county today.
Correct. I apologize. Those 3, I apologize, only landline, gas, and electric. The city, if incorporated, they can take incremental to the county. It's not taking from the county's revenue or general revenue fund. The last thing I'll mention about the bill, and you should take a look at it yourself, educate yourself. All I ask is that you walk into the ballot box, if it gets there, is that you've been able to say, honestly, you educated yourself, and then vote yes or no. But in order to move the millage, the politicians can't do that. It has to go back to the people within the city. If you want to tax yourself more, God bless. Okay, that's your decision, but that's it. Maybe you have a question. For raising the millage, yeah, it would be you, and I don't mean you, Peggy, but there would have to be a referendum given out, and then that referendum would let it raise up. Hold on, let me just get the people who haven't asked. Sir.
So on the committee website that you referenced, do you think that solely on that website, the studies are there and the information there, that would be a sufficient resource for somebody to develop their educated opinion when the vote comes? Or are there other places to go? Because I've read little, Facebook pages from both sides, and then you start to wonder, can you trust what either one of them have done? So I'm looking for the most black and white information source. Do you find that to be it, or are there others to try to get the most straight answer, pros and cons, good and bad, so I can form my opinion in advance? Is May the
So-
target time for the vote?
May is the target time for the vote, so I'm biased. But I do believe, I was not a voting member of that committee's report, but I do believe Sharon Springs Committee has a report that goes right down the middle and gives you an FAQ style, left and right, or pro and con, however it is you want to look at those answers. I think that's important. But at the same time, it'd be crazy to assume that that site should be the only thing. I'm not suggesting the social media is right or social media is wrong, but you gotta have your own filter and be able to bring that in. That's stated, and I see people in the audience. I've had one-on-ones with probably at least 15 of you, okay? And I'm happy to have one-on-ones with any of you, and I mean that. That's my job. I don't wanna speak for you guys, but I know these guys have one-on-ones. They'll arrest you, but other than that, they'll have one-on-ones, okay? But at the end of the day, really, let us know. I'm happy to sit down with you. I had one guy literally bring in the report, and we dissected that thing up and down, good and bad. So when he walked out, he goes, I don't know which way I'm gonna vote, but I know this, I'm a lot smarter an hour later, and that's all we want. That's all we want, is for you to walk out saying, I'm a lot smarter on it, and then make your decision. And I'm happy to assist, but I wish there was one source, but I can't say there is one. But look at SSA, look at opposing transparency.
That is the source.
Oh, well, thank you, I appreciate that. Okay.
What you refer to is like Sharon Springs Committee, is Sharon Springs Alliance, right?
No, Peggy, the Sharon Springs Committee, or Sharon Springs Study Committee, I was corrected on that, and I appreciate that. The Sharon Springs Study Committee is the group that was appointed by the members of the state delegation and the 5 Board of Commissioners. So like I said, 9 from outside of Rehoboth City, 3 from inside. And I can assure you, each of them came with their own predisposed biases, which is a good thing.